Hey everyone, it's Jimmy from Internal here, and today I'm going to show you how to read data into Internal via HTTP requests. So you can use this to work with your own internal company APIs or retrieve data from third-party sources that have an open API. We call this HTTP resources. So you start off on this screen, which is within Manage Data Sources. Simply click on any HTTP data source that you've already set up. Once you're there, click on Add New to add a new resource, and you'll be taken to this kind of overview screen, which will explain the various steps that you need to do in order to create an HTTP resource. In this video, we're going to cover how to set up the list view. So let's go over to the List View tab, click Add List View. Now what the List View does is it allows you to retrieve the data as an array of objects. And so later, people can use this resource to populate a table or a card list or components within Internal that display multiple records. And so you'll see within here, you'll simply fill out basically your HTTP request. So here is the path. We have a very simple API. Let's say we want to pull back a list of our writers that have ever written on an on-demand service that we are hosting. And then we'll use the method get to pull this back. It's a fairly simple, service that we've written, so we don't need to pass any parameters in body. And let's just click next and see what happens. Let's skip past the transformer for now. We'll come back to that. And then let's click this button, which will allow us to preview our HTTP request and see what comes back. And so you'll see here that Internal has let me know that our transformed response is actually currently not an array of objects. So what we can do is we can actually go back to the transformer here, and we can enter in some JavaScript expression. You can do anything you want here to kind of transform the data into the format that you want to work with. In our case, we just want to pull in the results key, which contains all of the records that we want as an array. And let's try previewing it again. And you'll see, great, the data all looks good. The transformed response is an array of the objects that we want with all the writer information. So next, what we want to do is go over to the Attributes tab. This basically shows you the attributes that are being pulled back from the data, and allows you to change the display name, but also change the type of attribute that this is. And this affects the functionality that Internal will have to modify this data later on. So for example, we want updated at and created at to both be date-time formats. And what this means is that eventually, if you try and edit these fields later on, you'll actually see a date selector come up because you've selected that this is a date time format for this attribute. And similarly, we also want to go over to ID and change this to an integer. Let's say update attributes here. Great. If everything looks good, we can go back and save our resource. Oh, let's give it a name first. Let's call this Writers Resource Demo. And let's save this. And now actually our resource is ready to be used in any space. So if we wanted to create a new space, let's just say HTTP resource. And then let's put in a table here. And you can select the data source that we were working with. And then select the resource, Writers Resource Demo, that we've created here. Let's just call this the Writers Table. Hit Apply. And you'll see that we've captured all of the data here. And you can hit Save to save your space. And now you've got a space that is able to display all of the records that you've read via HTTP. That's it. In our next upcoming videos, we're going to cover how to set up the detail view, as well as a few other things for HTTP resources.